You see it every single day. It's on our money, in our apps, it's pretty much everywhere. But have you ever actually stopped and wondered, where did the dollar sign come from? Well, the answer is a whole lot weirder and way more international than you'd probably guess.
I mean, really, look at it. It's an S with a line through it, or sometimes two lines. It's funny, right? The British pound sign is a fancy L for Libra, the old Roman unit. The cent sign is just a C with a line. But there's no D for dollar anywhere in our symbol. So, what's the deal?
Okay, let's just bust the biggest myth right off the bat. As much as it looks like a U and an S got squished together, it has absolutely nothing to do with the United States. In fact, the symbol is probably kicking around before the United States was even a country.
To really get to the bottom of this, we're kind of tackling two mysteries at once. First, where did the word dollar come from? And second, where did the symbol itself come from? They're two totally different stories. So let's start with the word.
Yep, before we can even get to that weird S symbol, we've got to understand the name. And its journey starts not in America, but halfway across the world, about 500 years ago. So it all begins in the early 1500s. There's this silver mine in a town called Joachimsthaler, which is in the modern-day Czech Republic. They start minting these big, popular silver coins they called Joachimsthalers, which literally just means from Joachim's Valley. As you can imagine, that's a real mouthful, so pretty soon everyone just shortened it to Thaler. And that word Thaler just starts to travel. The German Thaler gets picked up by Dutch traders who pronounce it Daler. They bring it over to the American colonies, and English speakers start saying it their way, dollar. By the American Revolution, dollar was just the common slang for the most popular coin around, the Spanish peso. So when the brand new United States needed its own currency, it just made the nickname official.
Okay, so that explains the word dollar. Pretty cool, right? But what about the symbol? This is where the story gets really juicy, because there is no clean, official answer. It is a genuine, historical whodunit. And this is the craziest part. This globally recognized symbol was never designed by a committee. It was never passed into law. That Coinage Act from 1792, it defined what a dollar was, but it said zero about what it should look like on a piece of paper. The symbol, it just appeared.
Since there's no official paper trail, historians are basically left with two main theories, two prime suspects. One is a super practical story about people just trying to save time, and the other is this grand, almost epic story of imperial symbolism. Let's look at the evidence.
All right, this is the theory most historians lean towards. Remember how dollar was slang for the Spanish peso? Well, trade was booming, and in their account books, merchants would write PS for pesos. To go faster, they just started writing the S right on top of the P. You could just picture a busy clerk scribbling this hundreds of times a day. Eventually, that little loop of the P just kind of melts into the vertical line, and bam, you're left with our dollar sign.
But then there's this other theory, and it's way more dramatic. Those same Spanish pesos, those pieces of 8, were stamped with the Spanish coat of arms. And that design had two pillars, the Pillars of Hercules, with a banner shaped like an S wrapped around them. That banner read plus ultra, which means more beyond. I mean, you look at that design and it's not a huge leap to see our dollar sign, right? Especially that older version with two lines.
So we've got the practical scribble versus the imperial symbol. Which one is it? Well, here's the thing. The fact that we can't be 100% sure is actually the most important part of the whole story.
At the end of the day, the dollar sign is basically folk history. It wasn't designed by a government and handed down to the people. It grew from the bottom up. It was created and adopted by the regular merchants, traders, and clerks who just needed a way to write things down quickly. Its lack of an official story is its story. It was a practical solution that just stuck.
And that's the real key takeaway here. The symbol that feels so completely American is actually a huge melting pot. You've got roots in a Bohemian valley, a Spanish empire, Dutch trading ships, and the hurried handwriting of colonial businessmen. It's kind of the perfect symbol for a nation built by immigrants, don't you think?
So if the origin of the most basic symbol for our money is this much of a mystery, born from just unofficial, everyday habits, it kind of makes you wonder, what other stories are hiding in plain sight on the dollar bill? But, maybe that's a mystery for another time.